There are hundreds of billions of galaxies in the universe, but the ones related to humanity are in the Bootes, Taurus, Canis Major, Lyra, Orion, and Draco constellations. The beings living in the Bootes constellation that have a significant impact on human evolution are the Arcturians. They are fourth-dimensional beings from the planet Arcturus. The Arcturian people manage matter and structures akin to the doctors and scientists of the galaxy. They are members of the Galactic Confederation, an alliance of positively oriented beings and civilizations from different dimensions and planets, working to maintain the balance of the universe. The Arcturians introduced enlightened concepts such as spirals and the importance of spiritual patterns into the physical world. They designed our DNA and are attempting to build a physical world mirroring the etheric one. Arcturians have eyes, hands, and bodies similar to humans, but with some differences. Their heads are more elongated and their eyes are larger. They share the same chakra structure as humans and reproduce sexually. However, they are taller than humans. There are different races among the Arcturians. Some are white, some are black, and some resemble Nordics, but with blue skin. Their blood is blue due to the absence of oxygen on their planet, resulting in a different breathing process. Their chakras are less dense than human chakras, appearing almost as if they are floating around their bodies. On Earth, they are represented by blue-faced gods. The beings living in the Taurus constellation are Pleiadians from the Pleiades star cluster. They are fifth-dimensional beings. They don't have genitals like we do, as they've lost the connection with the root chakra and the core of their planet. They connect with their planet and reality through their hearts. They don't have sex. Instead, they experience intimacy by feeling each other without physical touch, similar to Tantra. They don't need to eat, which is why they have tiny mouths and long necks for better vibration. There are different races among the Pleiadians, differentiated by the colors of their souls and vibrations. Some Pleiadians resemble human races, but their colors vary based on the vibrations of their souls and the energy of their bodies, such as white, black, yellow, and red. These are not their skin colors, but the colors of their energy. Pleiadians are closer to the fifth dimension than the fourth dimension and live outside of time. They are spiritual guides who provide guidance for beings in the material world. Their civilization began when there was only water and bacteria on Earth. Pleiadians created their civilizations on planets similar to suns, with cities of light structures that were not very physical, but levitated in the air. They use their minds to move through space, and are sometimes mistaken for angels because of their beauty and hair that resembles light rather than physical hair. Their eyes look like galaxies with many colors. They don't use spaceships, as they travel through time and space with Merkaba. When you see a Pleiadian spaceship, it appears as a sphere of light due to the high-speed rotation of Merkaba. In ancient times, people often mistook them for angels. However, angels are projections of light and geometries. They have human-like shapes but are fundamentally different from humans. They are rays of light that, when densified in front of us, appear with eyes and strange faces but no mouths, surrounded by feathers or wings. These beings are actually geometric patterns, radiating light and moving within these patterns. Pleiadians are similar to angels in shape but look more human. They have faces, hands, feet, and mouths, and they can talk to us. They travel in a light vehicle called the Merkaba when coming down from the sky. Angels appear more etheric. Thus, in ancient texts, when people saw someone descending from the sky in a sphere of light resembling angels and delivering messages to the people on Earth, they were actually seeing Pleiadians. Pleiadians usually reside between the fourth and fifth dimensions, while angels are geometric beings radiating light, typically residing between the sixth and seventh dimensions. Angels are aware of everything that happens in every dimension and protect this reality, acting like the white blood cells of God. Sirians are beings living on the planet Sirius. Sirius is a binary star system consisting of Sirius A and Sirius B, located in the Canis Major constellation. Sirians are the architects of the universe, founding members of human civilization and the Galactic Confederation. They established the first civilizations in the galaxy. Sirians are approximately 2.5 meters tall and resemble humans, but with notable differences. They have cone-shaped heads with large black eyes. Their brains have 3 parts. 2 parts are used to understand their reality, and the third part connects with other realities. This ability allows them to communicate across time and space with other species, which is why they were chosen to lead the Galactic Confederation. Sirians have gray, brown, and light gray skin. Their skin color is the primary distinction between the different races among them. They used to communicate with the architects on Earth and guided the construction of the pyramids. The tradition of powerful people wearing tall crowns symbolizes their influence. The Orion constellation is home to many civilizations because it serves as the most important portal in the galaxy. However, the 2 most significant ones for humanity are the Agriculturalists of the galaxy and the Seekers. The Agriculturalists of the galaxy are the keepers of the seeds of DNA. They search for planets where they can store genetic materials, allowing them to preserve all the information of the galaxy on different worlds. They have large eyes and bald heads, somewhat similar to humans, and they typically wear platinum dresses. They travel around the galaxy in UFOs, moving through the 4th dimension by entering a spinning machine that can bend time, enabling them to journey from one planet to another. The Keepers once relied on the Seekers to find suitable worlds for seeding these DNA materials. These Seekers would search for worlds with abundant minerals and resources. When those resources were depleted, they would move on to find another one, which is why they are known as the Seekers. These Seekers are referred to by humans as the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki were giants who once established their civilization on Earth, particularly in the Persian region and the Middle East. The Anunnaki are the giants that some ancient cultures referred to as the Nephilim. They inhabited deserts, mountains, and continents, populating vast areas of the planet and ruling over the highest mountains. They came from a star in the Orion constellation, which we now call Nibiru. They were massive, with strong, muscular bodies and large beards, resembling the gods of ancient Greece and the Middle East. The Anunnaki arrived on Earth guided by the Orion constellation, though not directly from Orion itself. They came from a dying planet, as they had nowhere else to go. The Confederation guided them to Earth because they believed that the Anunnaki's potential could rapidly awaken humanity's latent abilities. So they came here, guided by the Elohim, with a major purpose. However, the Anunnaki had their own agenda: to extract as many resources from Earth as possible in order to rebuild their own planet. They needed Earth's minerals and required workers to mine them. To achieve this, they designed a system to control humanity and keep them in a state of fear. The Anunnaki introduced language to Earth, as they used words to communicate, and they also had relations with humans. In ancient times, there was another giant race that lived on Earth called the Nemnir. They came from a very cold planet and arrived on Earth to record the information of the galaxy and the ice. They were the recorders of everything that happened in history. They communicated through telepathy and only lived in cold places. The Nemnir were similar to ancient humans, but were much bigger and taller, which is why they are called giants. Their skin was pale, and they usually wore furs due to the cold. They were one of the most ancient beings in human form to exist on Earth. The Nemnir were guided by other civilizations, beings from other planets, to seed information in Earth's ice. The giants did not form a very organized civilization. They worked independently and preferred to live alone. They were not very friendly and had little contact with the outside world. The Reptilians came from underground, having lived on Earth long before humans appeared. They were created by the Draconians, an alien race from the Draco constellation, though the Reptilians were specifically created here on Earth. The Elohim needed to create a path toward the evolution of consciousness, so they reached out to the Draco constellation to explore how they could develop a being capable of surviving, adapting, and living in a challenging environment like Earth, while also carrying information through emotions. Draconians are not like dragons or reptilians. They are different. They have distinct body types with long arms and rarely use their legs for walking. Draconians are cold-hearted and bellicose by nature. As geneticists, they sought beings on different planets that could contain their information and survive. Here on Earth, they discovered reptiles that were beginning to evolve, like dinosaurs. They took samples from this planet to create a conscious, aware being, capable of bringing information from other stars and surviving on this ever-changing planet. The Reptilians are the ones who possess all this information within them and have the ability to survive on this planet because they carry the genes of Earth's reptiles. The bodies of Reptilians are similar to those of their draconian ancestors. They have curved bodies and often carry a cane to symbolize the power of the snake on Earth. While they resemble humans in some ways, having hands and arms, their skin is like that of the snakes and reptiles of this planet. They have yellow eyes and different types of mouths, giving them a reptilian human appearance. Reptilians used to live in caves, mountains, and deserts, far removed from human society. They are a very reclusive species, similar to lizards and other reptiles, and tend to work alone. They have their own isolated places in deserts and mountains, and do not have social structures or societies like humans. They are more like hermits. Reptilians have the ability to control the emotions of those around them and possess knowledge on how to survive on different planets and manage emotions. They are cold-blooded, which gives them the ability to regulate their body's energy, knowing when to conserve it and when to activate it. They are able to access all the information they hold within and are considered the builders of wisdom on Earth. There was another alien civilization on Earth called the Alethir. They are beings from the Vega star and the founders of the Mu civilization. They established their civilization in the Pacific Ocean. The Alethir were guided to Earth through the largest portal Earth created when the Moon collided with the planet, forming the biggest crater on Earth, the Pacific Ocean. They are often referred to as the angels of the sea, as their appearance and demeanor are very angelic. They are very tall, with long faces and neutral facial expressions, as if they are always centered. They walk softly, almost as if levitating. The Alethir were considered the angels of Earth, connected with both air and water. They populated the Pacific and Indian Oceans and were the keepers of water's information. Their cities were shiny, resembling crystals, though they were actually made of quartz. In their civilization, they also constructed large stone structures decorated with quartz. They traveled in ships made of quartz plates that moved through the ocean by vibration. The Alethir communicated through telepathy, and their civilization functioned like a beehive, vibrating like bees and using that vibration to communicate. They had large heart chakras, and even today, if you close your eyes, you might still feel their heartbeats resonating on this planet. When the only being in the universe divided itself into duality, the feminine and masculine aspects were born. In the material realm, this duality is often symbolized by the mother and father, or by the moon and sun. Astronomically, this split is reflected in the separation of the Milky Way from the Andromeda galaxy, where Andromeda is seen as the mother galaxy and the Milky Way as the father. During this period, the first stargate in the Milky Way, the Antares Stargate, was created within the Scorpio constellation. This stargate served as a portal connecting the Andromeda and Milky Way galaxies. Through this portal, many etheric, non-physical beings from Andromeda entered the newly formed Milky Way to begin a cosmic experiment, transitioning into a more physical existence. The galactic center, also known as the Grand Central Sun, or Hunab-Ku, was first established near the Antares system, between the constellations of Scorpio and Sagittarius. This location became home to the initial star councils, composed of oversoul groups. Among them, a notable group came to be known as the co-creators, founders, or Elohim, as referenced in both Earth's religious texts and throughout the galaxy. The Elohim Founder Co-Creator Collective decided to create life as a means of advancing divine consciousness. They chose the small constellation of Lyra for their experiment due to its proximity to the galactic center and its favorable conditions for physical life. Drawing on the forms of highly evolved beings from higher realms and universes, Lyra was chosen as an ideal place to create many life forms, given its stable suns, planets, and environmental conditions. Avion, one of its planets, was a paradise with oceans, lakes, mountains, and lush life, much like Earth today. The first beings to arrive were etheric felines, who later evolved physical bodies to inhabit the planet. Over millions of years, they evolved into lions and other felines, eventually incarnating into these forms. By crossing their DNA with an ape-like mammal they created on Avion, the felines developed more human-like bodies, though they retained feline features. This crossing led to the creation of the royal line of Avion, or House of Avion. The etheric felines continued to incarnate to guide and train their physical kin in higher dimensional principles, ensuring they didn't become trapped in the cycle of animal reincarnation. The felines of Avion evolved in a manner similar to humans on Earth, and in time, their population grew large enough to assume the role of planetary guardians. They continued to advance, developing space travel and eventually warp technology, all while being guided by their etheric counterparts. Some felines became geneticists, a specialty of their species, helping develop life forms across planets and stars in the universe. Others became renowned explorers and scientists. At this stage, they turned their attention to the bipedal mammal they had crossed with earlier, initiating a genetic program that granted this species a soul and created a new race known as humans. Through many crossings and genetic upgrades, the first humans were formed. Among the subgroups in Lyra were red-headed and platinum blonde strains, but the primary human races were the white Nordic Lyrans and the blue-skinned Vegans. All Lyrans were humanoid and became the root race for all humanoid species in the galaxy. While some Lyrans had feline or bird-like features, others closely resembled humans. Their skin, hair, and eye colors varied depending on their home planet's distance from its star and the type of star. Many Lyrans lived agriculturally on planets like Avion, Avalon, Apex, Bila, Teka, and Meroc. Over 40 million years, these Lyran human races flourished in harmony on their beautiful, peaceful planets. The Vegans, a darker-skinned or blue-skinned human group, had a more feminine and introspective culture compared to the physically oriented Lyrans. They were spiritually focused and served others through healing, although they were also technologically advanced. Vega was the first human-populated star system in Lyra, and some vegan people later came to Earth to establish the Mu civilization. These vegans were not blue-skinned, but rather white Nordic Lyrans, as both races coexisted in the Vega star system at the time. However, they were still referred to as vegans due to their origin from Vega. Overall, the Lyran and vegan humanoid people were a peaceful race. Although disagreements and conflicts occasionally arose, they were typically resolved harmoniously. Both Lyran and vegan people adapted to the environments of the planets they settled, living in harmony with their surroundings. Their agricultural communities were incredibly efficient, capable of feeding billions, and they enhanced their planetary ecosystems, fostering even more abundant life. The Lyrans' commitment to living in unity with their home planets positively impacted all aspects of life. Their average lifespan ranged from 300 to 425 years, and this would later triple. They were a community-oriented people, working together and ensuring no one was left behind. Their society became a model of unity and cooperation for all humanity to follow. The second founder race in Lyra, the avian people, are believed to have come from another universe, much like the felines. Their expanded consciousness arose from their ability to see the broader perspective of their world. Through this visionary ability and their talent for moving via thought, they developed sentience. Some even learned to teleport and mentally explore other lands and planets, leading them to settle in new worlds. The Pleiades star system is located northwest of the Taurus constellation. It comprises 9 stars named Sterope, Merope, Electra, Maya, Tegeta, Seleno, and Alcyone, with Atlas and Pleione as their parents. There are a total of 7 habitable planets in the Pleiades star system, although many of its planets are uninhabitable. The Pleiadian people require a higher amount of oxygen than humans on Earth. Therefore, they have bodies with breathable skin that can absorb oxygen from their surrounding environment. The 7 habitable Pleiadian planets orbit the star Alcyone. They are at an ideal distance from Alcyone, making them suitable for habitation by the Pleiadian people. The first planet is called Pleiadian Alpha, which serves as a place for first density beings to learn their lessons. These first density beings are similar to those on Earth, comprising elemental entities like air, wind, fire, and other elements. After a long period of evolution, these first density beings enter the second density reincarnation cycle, becoming animals. While similar to animals on Earth, there are significant differences. The second density Pleiadian animals do not need to feed on one another to nourish their bodies. Instead, their advanced cells allow them to absorb nourishment from oxygen and the light of Alcyone, which produces biofood for their sustenance. After a certain period of time, these second density animals evolve into larger animals of late second density consciousness that resemble the dogs and cats on Earth, but they are much bigger, almost the size of houses. There are various species of them. The last second-density animals begin to learn to interact with each other at a basic level using biomagnetic electric transfer. They convey their thoughts through electrical signals to express themselves. These second-density animals do not attempt to eat others or encroach on each other's territory because they are self-sustaining and have everything they need within themselves. This is one of the reasons why evolution in the Pleiadian system is faster compared to Earth and many other planets. On Earth, evolution is slowed by competition, domination, and survival struggles, starting from the beginning of the second-density reincarnation cycle. However, this is not an issue on the Pleiadian planets, which is why many souls incarnating in the Pleiadian star system evolve much faster. After second-density beings complete their cycle of transformation, they move on to the next, a third-density planet that looks similar to Earth. However, there are many differences. Beings living on the third-density Pleiadian planet look similar to humans. They have hands and legs, but possess 2 additional limbs, one in the front and one in the back, providing them with greater freedom of movement. Pleiadian third-density beings have 6 limbs in total. Their language is more refined, and they communicate through sounds resembling violin music. They don't use words like humans do. Instead, they communicate using musical sounds, and their names are expressed as musical notes. On the third-density planet, there are different factions or groups. Some of these factions engage in electrical wars against others. These wars involve the use of electrical systems. The third-density beings live inside electrical chambers that resemble buildings, but these structures are made entirely of electrical charges to produce more oxygen by splitting the H2O molecule. H2O is abundant on a third-density planet called Pleiadian H. Many of these third-density beings destroy each other using electrical weapons. Their bodies have many pores in the skin that act as oxygen absorption mechanisms, serving as their primary source of nutrition. As a result, they do not need to ingest any external particles. Their mouth organs are used solely for communication, producing various sounds. They have hair that resembles human hair, but the colors are a blend of red, yellow, and greenish hues, which are difficult to describe in human language. Their reproductive system is similar to that of humans. A male must impregnate a female to create offspring. However, the birthing process is different. Unlike people on Earth, who carry the fetus in the womb for 9 months, their offspring require at least 20 years in Earth terms to evolve and fully mature into a new Pleiadian third-density being. The skin colors of most Pleiadian third-density beings resemble the bluish-green color found on Earth, with a tinge of sharp black stripes. The lessons they must learn in their reincarnation cycle are love and light, which are the same as those on Earth. However, they often go astray during their reincarnation cycles. Unlike on Earth, there is no hierarchy among them. On the third-density Pleiadian planet, the only separation they experience is group separation. The Andromeda Galaxy, also known as Messier 31, M31, or NGC 224, is a spiral galaxy approximately 2.5 million light-years from Earth and is the nearest major galaxy to the Milky Way. The galaxy's name stems from the area of Earth's sky in which it appears within the constellation of Andromeda. The size of the Andromeda galaxy is within the same order of magnitude as that of the Milky Way, with a mass of approximately 1 trillion solar masses. Accurately estimating the size of either galaxy is difficult, but it was long believed that the Andromeda galaxy is more massive than the Milky Way. The Andromeda galaxy has a diameter of about 220,000 light-years, making it the largest member of the local group in terms of extension, if not mass. The number of stars in the Andromeda galaxy is estimated at 1 trillion, roughly twice the number estimated for the Milky Way. The Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies are expected to collide in around 4.5 billion years, eventually merging to form a giant elliptical galaxy. With an apparent magnitude of 3.4, the Andromeda galaxy is one of the brightest Messier objects, making it visible to the naked eye from Earth on moonless nights, even from areas with moderate light pollution. The Milky Way galaxy was said to have originated from the Andromeda galaxy millions of years ago as part of a cosmic process of splitting into duality consciousness, with Andromeda as the mother galaxy and the Milky Way as the father galaxy. Through this splitting, a stargate was created in the Antares system within the Scorpio constellation, known as the Antares Stargate. It serves as a portal connecting the Andromeda galaxy with the Milky Way galaxy. Through this portal, many etheric, non-physical beings from the Andromeda galaxy arrived in the newly formed Milky Way galaxy to begin a new cosmic experiment into a more physical reality. The Andromedans are beings who live in the Andromeda constellation, predominantly human races from the star system Zenitae. In the Andromeda constellation, there are at least 28 different races of beings, some humanoid and some not. The life forms in Andromeda include humanoids, plants, animals, insects, and etheric and plasmic conscious life forms. There are also 7 to 9 foot tall winged humanoids existing in higher dimensions, possibly originating from the avian races. Andromedan humanoids have light blue skin that becomes paler as they age and are telepathic. The Andromedans are about 45,000 years ahead of us technologically and are a spiritually advanced race. They typically wear the traditional multicolored jumpsuits of the Galactic Confederation. Andromedans consist of 2 basic Earth-like human types. The first is a Caucasian type, ranging from a Nordic appearance with blonde or reddish hair, blue eyes, and pale blue skin, to a Mediterranean type with light to dark brown hair and gray to brown eyes. The second type has a more Asian appearance, with dark hair, dark Asian eyes, and bluish skin. The eyes of all Andromedans are slightly larger than those of Earth humans, and their heads are also slightly larger. Their lips are thin and almost light pink in color, while their ears are positioned slightly lower on the sides of their heads and are somewhat smaller. Their hands and feet are delicate in appearance, with long fingers and toes, and their arms and legs are long and thin. Female Andromedans range from 7 to 8 feet tall, while male Andromedans are typically 7 to 10 feet tall, with some reaching up to 12 feet. Their lifetimes can span a couple of millennia, and their average age is around 2,000 years. Regardless of sex, Andromedans can weigh between 450 and 600 pounds. Despite their heavier weight, they have elongated and lanky body types. Andromedan women are renowned for being the most beautiful in the galaxy, known for their alluring energies and shapely figures. They possess an otherworldly beauty that is unparalleled, even among the renowned beauties of the Pleiades. Because Andromeda has a highly advanced and evolved civilization, Andromedan women enjoy honor and respect among the men of their society, with many holding leadership positions and enjoying considerable freedom. Andromedans are noted in the Galactic Confederation for their mastery of all forms of science and technology, with most being highly skilled in technological endeavors. The Andromedan humanoids are descendants of Lyrans who fled to Andromeda from the Lyra constellation. Additionally, there are other races in Andromeda that are either indigenous to the star system or originally from the Andromeda galaxy. After the Lyran-Draconian Wars, many Lyran humans who escaped the conflict wandered throughout our galaxy for quite some time, as they were hunted and pursued by the Draconian beings who had destroyed their planets. They lived in hollowed-out asteroids and moons, essentially residing on spacecraft and constantly moving in search of safety. Several of these Lyran starships sought refuge in outlier constellations, such as Cygnus and Cassiopeia, which had been established as way stations for weary Lyran refugees to rest and replenish their provisions. While hiding in Cassiopeia, cat-like beings from the Cassiopeian system assisted the refugees and recommended that they establish new homes and settlements in the Andromeda constellation. It is believed that these interactions occurred approximately 2.5 million years ago. The Cassiopeian cat people recommended Andromeda because they knew the Lyran refugees were weary from traveling and hiding, and Andromeda was relatively close to their star system. The Lyran refugees eventually settled in two solar systems in the Andromeda constellation, known as Star 42 and Star 44. Star 42 is Zenitai, which is now their star system, while Star 44 is Tishtai. Star 42 has 27 planets orbiting its binary stars. Star 44 has 9 planets, all of which are equal to or larger than Jupiter. The planets in these star systems were terraformed to accommodate the new Lyran inhabitants. Over several generations, the new Andromedan humanoid races evolved physically to adapt to the environmental conditions of their new planets, which were vastly different from those in Lyra. Due to the lack of gravity, their bodies became more elongated, and their skin color changed from white to blue. Unlike the Sirians, who developed blue skin due to the genetic mixing of Lyran and vegan refugees, the Andromedan people developed blue skin as a result of the unique environmental factors of their planets. This pigmentation change was influenced by the ingestion of copper-based minerals in their food, as well as the effects of their binary sun. The vibration and frequency on Andromeda were also very different from those in Lyra, with additional color spectrums affecting the humanoids who lived there. The etheric winged beings from Andromeda came to Earth 200,000 years ago and altered human DNA. They were known as the planters of seed. However, the first seeding occurred 27 million years ago. These Andromedans arrived after the Martian Council, which conducted the first seeding of Earth and made changes to human bodies. The second seeding was carried out by the Andromedans, who were also referred to as angels by Earth people because of their otherworldly appearance. They influenced human consciousness by enhancing their biological systems, focusing more on spiritual development, as the physical human bodies had already been altered by the Martians. They changed the magnetic flux within human DNA, allowing humans to sense the presence of the Creator inside. discern light and dark, right and wrong, and feel the love of the Creator. This was done deliberately, as designed by the creative source, and was neither an accident nor an experiment, as many believe. The Andromedans integrated many of their own qualities into human DNA. Prior to this alteration, only one chromosome was present in human DNA. After the Andromedans made the transformation, there were now 2 pairs of chromosomes that allowed for the retention of specific memories of wisdom, heightened intuition, and an accelerated ability for spiritual evolution. Sirius is a binary star system consisting of 2 white stars, Sirius A and Sirius B. However, it is actually a triple star system, with a 3rd star, Sirius C, existing in an orbit between Sirius A and Sirius B. The orbit of Sirius C keeps changing as space-time warps due to the movements of Sirius A and Sirius B. Consequently, Sirius C cannot be observed by our astronomical instruments, as it exists in a slightly higher dimension than our own. There are many planets with different densities in the Sirius star system, some inhabitable and some not. The beings living on the planets of the Sirius A star system are mostly humanoid. They are about 2.5 meters tall, with gray, brown, or light gray skin, large black eyes, and cone-shaped heads. Their brains have 3 parts, 2 for understanding their reality, and 1 for connecting with other realities. They have an extra lobe above the frontal region, which gives them stereoscopic vision. This allows them to see both the inside and outside of an object, as well as its opposite side in the 3rd dimension. They can also communicate with other species across time and space. On one of their most inhabited planets, there are 2 large continents and small seas. 2 suns orbit their planet, with the larger one being their main sun. They experience 2 sunrises and 2 sunsets and have 5 moons. Most of the land on the larger continent consists of deserts and rocky terrain, with a few forests scattered across certain areas. Their civilization was one of the founding members of the Galactic Confederation. These are the Sirian people of higher densities. They have visited Earth many times, including during the time of the dinosaurs, to observe how our world was evolving. They have always cared for Earth's evolution, watching from above, until the Arcturians created a species they could communicate with, Homo sapiens. About 2 million years ago, the Sirians began incorporating some of their own DNA into the genetic material of Homo sapiens' ancestors. They helped shape the bodies we have today. These Sirians are 4th-dimensional beings of higher densities. They are much more evolved technologically and spiritually than we are. They are a very neutral race, with a philosophy centered on neutrality, without bias or judgment toward light or darkness, focusing instead on maintaining the balance of the universe. They excel in architecture and helped build the pyramids and temples of Egypt. Sirius is home to one of the most advanced training centers, known as the Mystery Schools, where ascended masters travel for learning. It also serves as a meeting place for beings from across the galaxy who wish to continue their spiritual studies. Besides the humanoids, indigenous to their star systems, there were also blue-skinned Sirians, descendants of Lyrans, due to the genetic mixing of Lyran and vegan refugees. After the Lyran-Draconian Wars, some Lyran and vegan refugees fled to Sirian planets and established new homes there. As a result, other Sirian races, typically with blue skin, were descendants of these Lyran and vegan refugees. Most of the original beings in the Sirius B and Sirius C star systems were aquatic and amphibian humanoids, such as the Nommo, who visited Earth thousands of years ago. The beings living on the planets of the Sirius B star system were primarily aquatic and did not feel the need to evolve for life on land. The planets of both Sirius B and Sirius C are mostly water, with very little landmass compared to Earth. These Sirian merpeople were not the beautiful mermaids depicted in Earth's mythologies. They would have been considered ugly or fish-like by Earth standards. They had greenish skin that could change to multiple colors at will, like a rainbow, much like a chameleon. They had humanoid upper bodies and fish-like lower torsos and legs. They were often depicted in Babylonian, Akkadian, and Sumerian myths, as well as in the myths of the Dogon. Some depictions of the Egyptian goddess Isis, said to have originated from Sirius, portray her as looking like a mermaid. Isis's connection with Sirius is also linked to her role as a mother goddess, similar to Sirius, which is considered the mother civilization of humanity. The Babylonian water god, Oannes, was also said to be half man, half fish. Besides the merpeople, there were also other types of aquatic beings and amphibian humanoids in the Sirius B and Sirius C star systems. On one of the Sirian planets with many moons, another type of amphibious beings lived there. Their planet was mostly covered by water, with only a few islands. These islands were submerged for half of the year and exposed for the other half. This cycle was caused by a large moon that pulled the water from one side of the planet to the other, constantly changing the weather and the lifestyles of the inhabitants. They spent half of the year on land and the other half in the water. Their cities were made up of tunnels within mountains and beneath plains. Their cities were structured with membranes that kept water in certain areas. All beings that could not live in the water would retreat to the highest mountains. Their cities were not large, but small towns connected by underground tunnels. These beings had frog-like faces with 4 backward-bending horns. Their brains had 4 parts, and they communicated by vibrating within their brains, similar to sonar in the water. They had membranes in their hands and feet, enabling them to thrive underwater. Their society and civilization resembled that of ants living underground and in the sea. They assumed roles based on their responsibilities, and there was no concept of family on this planet because everyone was born from eggs. Circles of wise individuals determined the destiny of every egg and being on the planet. They decided which egg belonged to which group, so that individuals could join others who resonated with them and shared the same level of evolution. Thus, the location where one would find their family was determined by society. Their main islands usually had no water for half of the year, so they harvested fruits and roots for food until the water returned. Life on this planet was primarily agricultural. The amphibious beings living there were not very good at walking on land. They walked like gorillas or monkeys because they were not adapted for life on the ground. For the rest of the year, when water returned to the islands, they spent most of their time in the water. They swam like mermaids, but had the shapes of frogs. Their culture was deeply connected to the moons. Their planet was known as the planet with 1,000 satellites. It had rings similar to those of Saturn, a result of the destruction of a large moon, with all its pieces orbiting the planet. Thus, Their culture was intertwined with the spirits of the lights from those moons. The planet had two distant tiny suns, Sirius A and Sirius B. These two sunrises and sunsets provided constant light due to the reflections of the moons. Consequently, their entire world was very awake, with all emotional expressions exposed. There was nothing to hide, which was very different from Earth. They had no emotions related to concepts of mother, father, or brothers, because everything they felt was visible to the outside world. Therefore, they had a very neutral culture, as there was nothing to conceal. The beings living on this planet were a very peaceful race. When the Draconians started invading some planets to take energy from those worlds, this planet became one of their targets. However, these Sirian beings didn't have weapons to defend themselves because they were an extremely peaceful race, living a simple agricultural life. As a result, they could only use their mouths to bite their enemies. There was another Sirian race called the Nommo that visited Earth thousands of years ago. They came from the Sirius C star system, which cannot be observed by our astronomical instruments. The Sirian people used to follow the consciousness equator, a line that extended from Peru to Rapa Nui, Cambodia, Pakistan, Iraq, Egypt, the Sahara Desert, Cape Verde, and Brazil. This line connects the equator of consciousness of Earth and was the route they followed when they visited. That's why you can see Sirian influence in those regions, particularly in Egypt and the Dogon tribe in West Africa. The Nommo were amphibious, hermaphroditic, fish-like creatures with humanoid upper torsos and legs, and a fish-like lower torso and tail. They were teachers of cosmology and other knowledge. When they visited the Dogon tribe, they taught them cosmology, the use of symbolic representations of energy centers, the application of symbols, and various energy patterns to transmute negative vibrations into positive ones and to uncover the secrets of the universe. They also taught the Dogon people how to use the social memory grid to traverse space and time and enter different timelines to meet them. In general, the Sirian people are a very benevolent race. They play an important role in human history and our galaxy, holding a major seat in the Galactic Confederation and watching over planets in evolution. Their primary philosophy is neutrality. Since most of their planets have two suns, they usually don't experience darkness. This is one reason they can take a leadership role in the Galactic Confederation, along with their ability to connect with different realities because they don't have duality. This enables them to remain unbiased and non-judgmental in maintaining the balance of the universe, as the universe requires both light and darkness to evolve. They have been among the guardians of Earth and our galaxy since before humans appeared and continue to be so today. Therefore, we can consider Sirius our mother civilization and the Sirian people our ancestors from the stars. The Arcturians are an alien race that originates from planets orbiting the red giant star Arcturus in the Bootes constellation. Arcturus is about 37 light-years from our solar system. The Arcturus star system is home to one of the most advanced alien civilizations in our galaxy. The vibratory energy specific to this civilization acts as an emotional, mental, and spiritual healer for humanity on Earth, and also serves as a gateway for human souls at the time of death and birth. This energy functions as a transition station, helping to adapt non-physical consciousness to the specifics of the physical world. There are different species living on different planets in the Arcturus star system, ranging from the first density to the seventh density. One of these species consists of tall, human-like beings with white, black, and blue skin, some of whom resemble Nordics. They are the doctors and scientists of the galaxy and members of the Galactic Confederation. In terms of appearance, they have eyes, hands, and bodies similar to humans, but with more elongated heads and larger eyes. They have the same chakras as humans, but are less dense, and they reproduce through sexual intercourse. They designed human DNA and helped create Homo sapiens. Some Arcturians are short in stature, about 3 or 4 feet tall and slender. Their skin has a slight tinge of pale greenish blue. They have only 3 fingers and possess the ability to move objects by the power of the mind, similar to telekinesis. They are entirely telepathic. Their eyes are very large and almond-shaped, dark brown or black, but their vision is based predominantly on telepathic ability and subtle perception rather than physical sight. Their hearing is highly developed, even surpassing their telepathic capacities, and they have the ability to feel sensations even with the back of their head. They usually live around 350 to 400 years and do not eat solid food, but sustain themselves with an effervescent liquid that has vitalizing powers for their entire body. Their spiritual advancement allows them to never age and to travel beyond time and space. They end their lives when their contract and mission for that life expire. There are no illnesses or diseases on Arcturus, as these were completely eradicated hundreds of years ago. For some Arcturians of higher densities, reproduction is not accomplished in a physical sense. It is carried out through a kind of mind link, in which the male and female energies are first perfectly balanced, creating a portal where the new Arcturian being is incubated, albeit energetically. During this procreation process, an electron force flows through the two beings, generating another being that is a replica of their connection. The new life form is then taken to a special room that emits the proper vibrational frequencies until the being is ready for integration into a family unit. One of the Arcturian planets is home to the violet oversouls, also known as the violet flame entities. They are 7th density oversouls, a group of highly advanced sentient beings. This planet is a realm of immense beauty, wisdom, pure unconditional love, and unity. It serves as a gateway to higher dimensions and a hub for intergalactic and interdimensional travel. These oversouls have transcended the limitations of the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th densities, achieving a state of unity, oneness, and timelessness with the Creator. Having mastered the lessons of love, wisdom, and power, they have become guardians of higher densities. The realm of the violet oversouls is the 7th density, a realm of pure consciousness. They exist beyond the confines of space and time, operating in a state of pure unconditional love, unity, and timelessness. These beings do not take on physical bodies, but inhabit higher dimensions, guiding and assisting those seeking to awaken to their true nature. However, only a select few have volunteered to guide planet Earth. These individual entities are known as violet ray anchors, or 7th density soul guides. They assist in anchoring the energies of the violet ray and facilitating the transformation of the human social memory complex. For more physical Arcturian beings, their society is governed by what they call the Elders, also known as the Oversoul of the Arcturian race. The Elders are respected by the Arcturians for their advanced wisdom and the extremely high, refined vibrational energies they manifest. Arcturians are among the most loving and non-judgmental beings. They belong to a group mentality called the Arcturian Collective. However, they do not operate as a hive mind, as each Arcturian has their own personality and can act independently and individually. Although they are highly analytical, their analyses are fully integrated with the highest order of intuition and emotionally enlightened love. This emotional and spiritual healing is why many psycho-spiritual healers feel a special connection with Arcturus. The Arcturians are gifted healers, though their techniques differ greatly from those of the doctors of Andromeda. The Arcturians often work closely with the Sirians. Arcturians have developed the ability to transcend the ego, the separative, lower, fear-based self. Success is measured solely by the degree of one's light frequency. There are machines on Arcturus that constantly monitor the vibrational frequencies manifested by each individual on the planet. The Arcturians work closely with the Ascended Masters, whom they refer to as the Brotherhood of the All, or the Fraternity of Totality. They also collaborate with what they call the Galactic Command. The Arcturians travel the universe in their starships, which are among the most advanced in the entire universe. In the Arcturian system, there are no extreme temperatures, as their worlds exist primarily in a higher dimensional, non-physical environment. Their civilization has transcended duality and lives in unity consciousness. Professions on Arcturus are determined by a person's vibrational frequency and the colors of their aura. There is no competition for professions or anything else. So, many Arcturian beings take turns performing various duties, such as processing souls passing through the Arcturus Stargate, healing damaged souls in the Arcturian crystal temples, and working on their starships, including maintaining the shielding systems that protect the Stargate. Arcturus is also an energy gateway through which humans pass during death and rebirth, serving as a way station for non-physical consciousness to become accustomed to physicality. This energy functions as an intermediate adaptation and planning center used by the physical fraternities in our local universe to govern and administer the various experiments with physics in this galactic area. Arcturus, along with Antares, is one of the two major stargates in this galaxy, with Arcturus being the stargate of souls through which souls transition from one incarnation to the next. Arcturians on Arcturus take turns working the stargate, as there is no competition on Arcturus, and all Arcturians share various tasks within their star system. Millions of souls are processed daily through the Stargate, where they undergo a life review and set goals and choices for their next incarnation with the assistance of their higher selves and Arcturian Stargate guides. In the early part of Arcturian history, Arcturus was heavily attacked by Draconian forces who sought to take control of the Stargate. During this time, the Arcturians underwent a massive evolution, not only rapidly advancing their technology, but also expanding their consciousness as they confronted their own fears and negativity while dealing with the Draconian attackers. Due to this challenging start in their galactic history, Arcturians tend to be strong-minded, process-oriented, and evolve quickly, both on Arcturus and in other star systems they assist. Arcturians are often seen as spiritual heavyweights, taking on the most difficult projects and humblest roles in order to truly be of service to others. The Orion constellation lies in the northern sky, on the celestial equator. It is one of the brightest and best-known constellations in the night sky. Orion is also known as the Hunter. It is associated with the mythical hunter Orion, who is often depicted in star maps as either facing the charge of Taurus, the bull, or chasing after the hare, represented by the constellation Lepus, with his two hunting dogs, represented by the nearby constellations Canis Major and Canis Minor. Orion is easily located in the sky by the three bright stars in a row that make up Orion's belt, which is one of the most familiar asterisms in the night sky, along with the Big Dipper and the Southern Cross in southern latitudes. Starting with the top one, in the northern hemisphere, the names of these three stars are Mintaka, Alnilam, and Alnitak. Two of the three stars that form the belt of Orion are supergiants. The Orion constellation is home to the most important portal in our galaxy, the Orion portal. This interdimensional portal connects different dimensions, allowing beings to travel between them. With enough energy, they can even control those dimensions and create a new universe. Due to its strategic significance, Orion has become a target for many extraterrestrial species and has a very complicated history. There were many species living in the Orion constellation, including Lyran and vegan refugees who fled to Orion after the Lyran-Draconian Wars, Greys, Reptilians, Amphibians, Insectoids, and others. The Orion constellation was home to many beings, and one of the organizations present there was the world's Agriculturalists. These beings are very large, about twice the size of a human. They have human-like bodies with heart-shaped ant heads. Their eyes resemble those of ants, but they have human mouths. Their skin changes color according to the sun, and its texture is similar to that of fish scales. They traveled through other star systems and galaxies in a spaceship that resembled a lotus flower, with many petals that opened and closed like a lotus. They stored the genetic information of every species in chambers that looked like flowers. This information was shared across planets and Orion. Their mission was to seed genetic information on various conscious planets, storing it in different places as a safeguard in case something catastrophic happened. They were working to build greenhouses on every planet. For them, the universe was not called God, but the tree. They believed the universe functioned like a tree, with each planet being a fruit of this tree. To them, God was represented by the main white tree, from which many planets, the fruits, grew. Their role was to collect seeds of DNA and information, store them in greenhouses, and later retrieve this data to seed other planets, ensuring that the information was never lost. They worked closely with another species from a planet near Rigel that was responsible for identifying worlds in the process of evolution. This species informed the agriculturalists where to go and which DNA to collect. The agriculturalists then brought that information back to their planet and analyzed the cells and materials in a holographic lab. In this lab, they could magnify the cells and manipulate them using their fingers through vibration. They reorganized the DNA patterns to balance them with the information from their own worlds. They performed DNA modifications to adapt certain species to different planets. These Orions sought out planets that were in the process of awakening to consciousness so that the harvested information would be conscious rather than unconscious. If information were seeded in unconscious worlds, it wouldn't properly connect with the self. That's why they were trying to reach conscious planets that were attempting to communicate with the self This is why Earth and humanity were chosen to be among the conscious seeds for the agriculturalists to harvest information from, to be seeded throughout the galaxy as Earth began its journey toward awareness and spirituality. During the Orion Wars, many agriculturalists pointed to Earth, saying, "We need to bring our information there and become the information ourselves." As a result, many of them ended their lives in their own dimensions and incarnated into the third dimension so they could become the storage of the information themselves. In this world, by being human, they can harvest the energy they had seeded and teach others how to do the same. The main thing they are trying to teach humanity is to create the seeds for each of their flowers. That's why, in the history of many cultures, they taught about chakras, which represent the flowers that generate the energy needed to nourish the whole body and themselves. If we can work with enlightenment properly, focusing on the flowers in our bodies, we can become the seeds that feed not only other species in the galaxy, but also the entire universe. The world's agriculturalists are the ones seeding information to the greenhouse worlds of food and using their energy to nourish the galaxies and the entire universe. Their goal is to help us enlighten ourselves, because when we become enlightened beings, we become our own source of energy and nourish every species in the universe through consciousness. They are working to enhance the seeds as much as possible, making them better and more enlightened. They are among the seeders of Earth and humanity. However, due to the Orion Wars and Draconian corruption, the Orion constellation split into the polarities of light and darkness, with most beings choosing to align with the Draconians and negatively oriented Pleiadians. They formed the Reptilian Anunnaki Grey social memory complex, which operates for service to self and exerts influence over other planets. The Greys originated in Zeta Reticuli, a binary star system in the southern constellation of Reticulum, about 39.3 light-years from Earth. They are currently in the early stages of fifth density consciousness. Most Greys have chosen the negative polarization pathway, leading their species to polarize negatively, while a minority of positively polarized Greys have reincarnated onto other positive planets. The Greys have been genetically modified by the Anunnaki and appear somewhat robot-like. They look pale, almost anemic, with thin limbs that are bony and fragile-looking. Their eyes are much larger than human eyes, often oval or almond-shaped, and their hair is thin and wispy. They also have a subspecies, similar to our pets, that resembles drones, looking much like bees and ants, which are programmed to work in a robotic manner. They travel in spacecraft equipped with plasma shields. Although plasma produces extreme heat, they have learned to isolate their crafts from this heat by using anti-plasma vacuum technology and adding 2 layers of anti-plasma shields to the exterior. When they visit Earth, they have workstations called plasma corridors. The Anunnaki existed on Earth many thousands of years ago, yet they continue to influence us today. They are still refining bloodlines, creating new life forms, mutating all life, and attempting to influence Earth indirectly through the Greys. The Greys were genetically modified by the Anunnaki to resemble humans. To achieve this, the Anunnaki initially abducted individuals, particularly those with Rh-negative blood, as they already possessed genetically modified traits. The Anunnaki then used their genes to create hybrid fetuses, which were grown in glass tanks filled with a milky nutritional liquid to support full development, much like how human children require an incubation period before birth. These beings were kept in this nutritional environment to allow them to develop into a semi-humanoid form. Some of the abductees taken by the Anunnaki for genetic material may recall seeing such hybrid fetuses growing in glass tanks filled with milky liquid. The Anunnaki visited Earth many times and signed numerous treaties with various nations in exchange for their technology. One such treaty was signed with the then President of the United States, Dwight David Eisenhower. This treaty stated that in exchange for Anunnaki technology, the Anunnaki would be allowed to abduct Earth's inhabitants to collect sperm, blood samples, and tissues to create more human-like versions of the Greys for their missions on Earth. Additionally, the treaty specified that no harm should come to these individuals beyond gene collection, and they were to be left unharmed. The Anunnaki needed to create human-origin replicates because the Confederation of Planets, a council overseeing Earth, currently does not allow any infringement. Therefore, the Anunnaki required human-like Grey replicates to carry out their missions on Earth. Additionally, the Anunnaki sent a representative to the United States to formalize a treaty, as it was the most influential nation on Earth. This Anunnaki ambassador was named Krill, and he was respected by Earth's people at the time, receiving the title Omnipotent Highness Krill. The ambassador's first landing and the meeting were both filmed but kept secret. The treaty signed between the being known as Krill and Earth's representatives stated that the Anunnaki would not interfere in human affairs, and vice versa. Additionally, their presence was to be kept secret to prevent mass hysteria and public awareness of the abductions that had been occurring. This Anunnaki ambassador provided advanced anti-gravity spacecraft technology, which Earth scientists have since studied extensively. The treaty also specified that human abductions could only occur on a limited, periodic basis for purposes of medical examination and development monitoring, provided that the humans would not be harmed, would be returned to their point of abduction, and would have all memory of the event erased. Furthermore, a record of all abductions would be submitted to human authorities on a scheduled basis. As part of the treaty, 20 people from Earth were also sent to Nibiru in an exchange program intended to foster mutual learning and understanding. According to the treaty, the Greys also maintained an underwater facility within Earth's oceans where they conducted various tests and evaluations. Following directions from the Anunnaki, these abductors would abduct humans, particularly those with Rh-negative blood. The abductees were placed in a state resembling anesthesia, and two beings resembling large lizards would oversee the procedures, which the Greys performed in a robotic, programmed manner. This underwater facility, used by the Greys as a test and evaluation center, was called the Plasma Corridor. The Greys and the Anunnaki developed many technologies in collaboration with several military scientists working at these bases. Over the years, there have been several conflicts between the Greys and humans. During these encounters, the Greys almost always killed the humans involved, as they were more technologically advanced. Currently, the Greys are not allowed entry to Earth due to a quarantine imposed by the Galactic Confederation to prevent any external visitors. However, these beings are notorious for breaching the quarantine zone to abduct humans and collect genetic material for creating Grey-human hybrids. The Greys are also monitored by the Ashtar Command, which prohibits their entry to Earth. Throughout Earth's history, aside from the beings living on its surface, there have also been many beings residing within the planet, known as inner Earth civilizations. These beings are the watchers of Earth and the record keepers of everything that has happened on the surface. There are many underground cities inside Earth, located beneath high mountains, plains, and lost lands. Two of the most famous are the Kingdom of Shambhala, under the Himalayas, and Telos, beneath Mount Shasta. Altogether, there are 120 underground cities in inner Earth, forming what is called the Agartha network, whose capital and seat of government is Shambhala. Other well-known cities include Posid, Shunchi, Rama, Xinghua, and Urks. Posid, the main settlement of Atlantis, with a population of about 1.3 million, is located in the plains of Mato Grosso, Brazil. Another Atlantean city lies just a bit farther north, with yet another beneath the Atlantic Ocean and several smaller satellite cities scattered throughout the planet. Shunchi, a community of refugees from the Uyghur culture, a branch of Lemuria, has around 750,000 residents and is located under Tibet. The Uyghurs, who left Lemuria 40,000 to 50,000 years ago, settled throughout much of Asia, India, and Central Europe. The entrance to Shunchi is guarded by Himalayan lamas. Rama is a community that originates from the original city of Rama, which once existed in India near Jaipur, and has a population of around 1 million. Its residents are known for their classical Hindu appearance. Xinghua, another community of refugees from the Uyghur culture, migrated to northern Earth before settling in Agartha, and is located beneath the border between Mongolia and China under the Gobi Desert, with a population of about 1.5 million. It also has a sister city under Mount Lassen in California. Urks is an underground city beneath Cerro Uritorco, near Capilla del Monte in Argentina. These are all members of the Agartha Confederation. In addition, there are several independent cities that are not branches of any larger cities. They were built underground to escape events that occurred on the surface, some before Atlantean and Lemurian disasters, and some after. These cities were built to preserve records, sacred teachings, and technologies. Some were constructed even before the age of dinosaurs. Their purpose is to guard Earth's core, ensuring that events on the surface do not reach it, and to serve as guides for those living above ground. Their mission is to protect Earth and its core, while assisting in the evolution of surface dwellers. This is their fundamental importance. They continually support the evolution of other beings from within the Earth. These underground civilizations exist in higher dimensions and densities, making them invisible to human eyes. They also have protective systems to prevent human entry. The beings living here have come from other planets, creating a diverse mix of beings from various origins: etheric beings, extraterrestrials, and members of different civilizations. Some are refugees from Atlantis and Lemuria. It is a melting pot of beings who coexist at different levels and states, sometimes all within the same city. 25,000 years ago, there were two major civilizations on Earth. One was based on the continent of Lemuria, or Mu, which spanned much of the Pacific Ocean, the western United States, and parts of Asia. The other was Atlantis, covering much of what is now the Atlantic Ocean, as well as parts of Africa and Europe. These two civilizations clashed over ideology and control of the planet due to polarity, engaging in brutal wars that involved nuclear weapons. About 15,000 years before the Great War that destroyed Lemuria, their priests petitioned Shambhala, the capital of the underworld civilizations, to build a city under Mount Shasta to preserve their civilization and records. The Lemurians convinced the wisdom lords of that era that they had learned the lessons of war and aggression, and they were granted permission to build a city under Mount Shasta. Another nuclear war occurred 12,000 years ago, leading to the destruction of Lemuria. After the war, many priests of Melchizedek and priestesses of Lemuria foresaw the future and predicted the sinking of their continent. They began searching for a new place to settle. They chose Mount Shasta, a large, already sacred mountain east of Lemuria, believing it would be safe during the impending disaster. They decided to build underground, partly to shield against the shocks Earth would endure from the continent sinking, and partly because Earth's original atmospheric mantle had dissipated, exposing surface life to harmful ultraviolet rays. In planning their city, they discovered a large domed cave inside Mount Shasta, spanning several square kilometers and rising hundreds of meters high. This cave became the top level of Telos. The Lemurians built a city for 200,000 inhabitants beneath Mount Shasta, but only 25,000 managed to reach the new city of Telos. Very few others survived the earthquakes, tidal waves, and volcanic activity that accompanied the continent's sinking. They transferred the Lemurian records and the sacred flames to Telos. Later, when the Atlantean islands were destroyed by civil wars, some Atlanteans also fled to Inner Earth and built the city of Poseid beneath the Mato Grosso Plateau in Brazil. The average height of underground citizens is typically 2.5 meters in Telos and nearly 4 meters in Shambhala. They have achieved immortality, so death is not an issue here. They can choose to appear young, even if they are thousands of years old. Once they have completed their desired experiences, they can choose to end their lives at will. Telos is a large city with about 1.5 million inhabitants. The city was built to accommodate up to 2 million people, covering an area of 1.5 square kilometers. Telos means communication with spirit. Its language is Solar Maru, the root language of Sanskrit and Hebrew. The average height of its inhabitants is 2.5 meters, and they live long lives. Many are thousands of years old, but appear to be 30 or 40. Telos has a king named Ra and a queen named Ranamu, along with a council of 12 plus 1. The 12 members at the head of the Council of 12 consist of 6 men and 6 women, usually ascended masters, individuals of great wisdom who remain balanced in any situation. They always prioritize the good of the many above their own interests by doing what God desires. The one is the high priest and priestess, or the king and queen of Telos. The high priest is Adama, the Lord of the Ascendant, working directly under Archangel Michael. Adama serves as the ambassador and diplomat in the Galactic Federation of Planets, representing the beings below and humanity above. He is the commander of a project to maintain a crystalline network around the Earth and leads the Ascension Project, which aims to elevate humans to the 5th dimension. This project includes Jesus, Maitreya, Sananda, and Saint Kumara. It embodies the love and compassion of Telos and reflects the heart of the Divine Mother. He is also known as the Lord of the Blue Rays, assisting humanity in ascension. The High Priestess is Tara Ra, who teaches students in the temples and is deeply loved by them. She is also an ascendant, and together they are working partners. The The king and queen are Ra and Ranamu. This lineage has been unbroken for over 30,000 years. Although the monarchy is hereditary, it does not automatically pass to the eldest son or daughter. The king and queen decide which of their children or grandchildren is most capable of the role. The chosen one undergoes full training and becomes a priest or priestess of Melchizedek. Their government decisions are made by the Council of 12. When a decision is made, the king and queen can either support it or request a change. If there is an unresolved issue, the high priest and priestess have the final word. Below the main Council of 12 are subordinate Councils of 12 that address local disputes. Individual problems or disputes are handled by an arbitrator, priest, or priestess who has access to past records. The city of Telos was built under a dome that rises several hundred feet from floor to ceiling and spans most of what would be the base of Mount Shasta. From the outside, the top of the dome is about halfway up the mountain, while the bottom of the dome is nearly even with the base of the mountain. Below the dome, there are 5 additional levels that have been constructed, reaching approximately a mile below the ground level at Shasta. The rest of the city is built across 5 levels, covering several square miles. These levels are divided by their usage. The city consists of 5 levels. The upper level beneath the dome serves as the center of commerce, education, and administration. It is the main part of the city, where most of the population lives and where the majority of commerce takes place. This is the heart and soul of Telos. Directly in the center is a temple designed to accommodate 50,000 people. It is white and shaped like a pyramid, with a capstone made of living stone, a material from Venus. It appears crystalline and emits all the rays of the color spectrum, picking up the cosmic emanations of whatever ray is focused on the planet at the moment. The temple is dedicated to the Order of Melchizedek, a cosmic priesthood of our universe committed to embodying the plan of light given to us by the higher levels of the goddess. On the top level are their council buildings and record buildings. The council buildings are where the city councils gather to deliberate on what needs to be done at the moment. The record buildings house all past records and archives in the form of crystals that can be used in crystal projectors, paintings, and books. They contain records not only of Lemuria, but also of Atlantis, Egypt, other Earth civilizations, and even civilizations from other planets. There is a building that manages communications within Telos, between Telos and the other underground cities of Agartha, as well as with places outside the planet and on the surface. It also monitors radio and television waves from the surface. They have fun places for sports, plays, movies, music, and dancing. They have a place very similar to the holodeck in Star Trek, where they can create virtual realities for themselves in any adventure they desire, climbing a mountain, swimming a river, going back in history, etc. They also have a building that houses multi-track, amino-based computers. These computers are alive and operate in the mind of the Messiah. Therefore, they cannot be corrupted. They can access past records, read people's past lives if desired, and even show those lives to them. They can read people's auras or assess their health and provide recommendations for what they need. They can play individuals' soul notes, which helps them meditate clearly, and they can communicate with people on a soul level. Additionally, they can communicate across galaxies. They help train the minds of individuals in the ways of the Messiah, and people depend on them quite a bit. Their computer system is based on amino acids and is linked to other underground cities and galactic civilizations. Every family and individual has their own computer. On the second level, there is a production center as well as residential areas. This floor is primarily used for producing clothing, furniture, and more, but it also contains residences and classrooms. Their houses are round in shape and dust-free. Living in these houses is similar to living on land, as they accommodate individuals, couples, and extended families. People have classes, make clothes and furniture, and engage in various activities here, and many residents live on this level. On the third level are hydroponic gardens where they grow all their food. They have been vegetarian for over 12,000 years, living on vegetables, fruits, grains, nuts, soybeans, and more. Their crops grow in water. Some minerals are added, but no fertilizers or soil depletion occur. The crops grow much faster than on the surface, allowing them to feed 500,000 people from just a few square miles of land while providing enough variety to make eating enjoyable. They also trade with other Agartha cities. The fourth level consists of half hydroponic gardens, some artificial and some natural. It features more hydroponic gardens and production centers, as well as several park areas for recreation and excursions. The fifth level is the realm of nature. This floor is a natural park, a vast safari with lakes and forests, home to many species of animals, including those that have long been extinct on Earth, such as the dodo bird, the mastodon, and others. All the animals in the park were raised in a non-violent atmosphere, and those considered carnivores or meat eaters enjoy various steaks made mainly from soy. They are accustomed to living near humans without displaying aggression or anxiety. There are no animals in cages here. The supply of oxygen in the entire biosphere is sustained by the hydroponic gardens and the natural vegetation of the large parks. The light of the underground cities is produced through a process in which crystals with high crystalline content are fused with an electromagnetic force field of energy. This causes the crystalline matrix of the stone to form a polarity that allows it to attract invisible rays and re-emit them as visible, full-spectrum light. The stone then becomes a small sun, whose light can last for about 500,000 years. They dim it at night to follow the pattern of light on the surface. The main lighting structure throughout the city, as well as in other subterranean cities, is produced by these stones. They also created an inner Earth ecological system. They obtain their oxygen from the plants and trees here, although some ventilation openings lead to the surface. Water in certain areas moves at high speeds, along with air currents and negative ions. This system is so effective that they have less and less dependence on the ventilation openings, and even the air around the mountains is more harmonious. They develop machines to extract energy from their surroundings, so they do not need electricity. They have instruments similar to ours, but more advanced. Telos is a technologically advanced civilization with an impressive transportation system. Urban transport consists of elevators and electromagnetic sleds. The people of Telos travel between underground cities on an electromagnetic subway that reaches speeds of 3,000 kilometers per hour. Telos is also a member of the Confederation of Planets, and its inhabitants travel to other worlds using interdimensional spaceships. Within the cities, elevators move between floors, and there are moving sidewalks and electromagnetic sleds that are somewhat similar to our snowmobiles. An underground electromagnetic train network facilitates transportation between the cities, with trains reaching speeds of 3,000 kilometers per hour. There are 3 transportation methods in Telos. The first is based on crystalline technology and resembles a basket. People enter the baskets, which are driven by their minds. They are lifted into the air and float to their destinations. This method is used for leisurely walks around the city. The second method is an electromagnetic sled that looks like a snowmobile, which is also used within the city. It can transport passengers from Mount Shasta to Mount Lassen, which is about 80 kilometers away, in just a few minutes. The third method consists of electromagnetic trains that travel at thousands of miles per hour through tubes without touching the sides. When residents want to go to the surface, there are 3 options. One option involves hidden exits in Mount Shasta, equipped with holographic filtering devices to make them invisible from the outside. If anyone wants to enjoy the stars or explore the mountain, they can use these exits. The second option is to take a tube, similar to those in Los Angeles or other underground cities of the Agartha network. Finally, they can take a Watcher, one of the smaller spaceships referred to as the Silver Fleet. Alongside these smaller ships, they have 3 large motherships. When the ships are departing, the mountain is physically opened. To avoid alarming people, they have developed machines to create a cloud cover, known as cloud ships. The subterranean cities are a temple society. Many people undergo training at the temples and spend time there, not just those who become priests and priestesses, but also individuals in other professions who seek a deeper understanding of the human psyche and spirit to perform their jobs effectively. There is no money system in Telos because all the basic needs of the residents are met. They use barter to exchange luxury goods. There are no issues related to physical survival or financial difficulties. People work only 20 hours a week, leaving the rest as free time. This state of abundance and prosperity fosters mature love and conscious living. Their primary spiritual activity is ascension, which includes visiting different dimensions, especially the transition from the 3rd dimension to the 5th, as taught in the temple trainings. Telosians do not judge others, and they can communicate telepathically. Most people on the surface have judgmental thoughts, which can be physically painful for Telosians. Sometimes, some surface dwellers are invited to come down, especially spiritual masters and students. In Telos, when a woman first understands that she is pregnant, she goes to a temple room where she is enveloped in love and surrounded by beautiful images and music. She perceives her baby as beautiful and perfect, and this love and perfection resonate within her cells. These create wonderful building blocks for childbirth. Both parents communicate with the baby with great love, singing, and more, ensuring that the baby knows he is loved and desired. The pregnancy lasts only 3 months. When the baby is ready to be born, the parents go to a maternity area in the temple, where a priestess delivers the baby. The birth takes place underwater, causing no pain, which is beneficial for both the mother and the baby. The mother will be put into a hypnotic state where she will feel no pain, but only the pressure. On the surface, the baby's umbilical cord is often cut long before he is ready or capable of breathing easily and naturally. He is frequently slapped to stimulate breathing, so his first breath is often associated with pain and fear. This can lead to breathing difficulties later in life, including diseases like emphysema and other lung issues. In Telos, when a baby is born, he slides into warm water, which feels familiar and comforting. He remains connected to his mother via the umbilical cord for half an hour, floating and practicing progressive breathing in the water while being loved and welcomed by his parents. This process can take around 30 minutes. Finally, he begins to breathe completely on his own. Only then is the cord painlessly cut using a laser. In the next 2 years, the father remains at home to help during this critical period in the child's life. It is essential that both the father and mother, a male and a female, remain involved in the child's life for the child to achieve balance. Each child has 12 sets of godparents, who usually have their own children. The child spends time with all these families and begins to feel that the whole world is family. He learns from observing family dynamics and patterns. Education begins at 3 years old and is based on the child's intelligence rather than his ignorance. Activities include meditation, reading, dancing, sports, math, games, abstract concepts, and discussions. The children teach themselves and work collaboratively on various projects. In the concept of play and learn, they express themselves without resorting to violence. From the age of 5, they begin to learn astral projection, allowing them to travel outside their bodies and explore various experiences. They visit past records and see their history. They can even travel to the surface and other planets. They learn that angels are real and develop the faith to manifest their visions into reality. They become intelligent and empowered individuals. They don't have victim mindsets. They refer to these as the years of temporary insanity. Children connect with other sons and daughters of smart and loving adults. They create plays, explore wild caves for a few days, and express their energy in positive ways. They grow up to be whole adults, free from alcoholism or other addictions. There is no madness, crime, or poverty in Telos. Everyone has what they need and want. In Telos, there is no aging. Although genetically identical to us, Telosians do not grow old. Most are several hundred to several thousand years old. When Telosians decide to end their life journeys in Telos, a large proportion will ascend, taking their bodies into the light and moving into a higher dimension. Those who are not ready to ascend will leave their bodies, which are then electrified. In Telos, they have a non-monetary exchange system. While the government owns everything, it does not control distribution directly. It ensures, for instance, that food reaches distribution stores. When someone needs something, food, clothes, furniture, art, books, etc., they simply go to a distribution center and pick it up. People in Telos do not work for money. Each person chooses what they want to do. For example, if someone decides to work in the hydroponic gardens, they set their own hours and let their foreman know when they'll be there. And they do show up, knowing that everyone's well-being depends on each person contributing their part. Some people are gifted in areas like art or massage. People have ample time to meditate, play, rest, train, and grow spiritually. Everyone takes turns with service work, even members of the Council of 12. No one is considered better or less than another. Each month, they may spend a few hours on tasks like collecting and recycling materials, weeding gardens, or cleaning up after animals. They do this work together, singing and enjoying the experience. There are 2 types of marriages in Telos: consensual marriages and holy marriages. When 2 people feel a strong connection, care deeply for each other, and want to explore their bond further, they go to a priest or priestess and commit to a consensual marriage. These marriages can last for hundreds of years, though they are often shorter. Spouses in a consensual marriage do not have children. If the marriage doesn't work out, they simply return to the priest or priestess who dissolves the union without any stigma or disharmony. When a consensual marriage becomes very deep and enduring, the couple may choose to enter into holy matrimony. This can happen after 200 years together, or as soon as 2 months. A holy marriage is marked by a beautiful and grand wedding ceremony. All Telosian children are born from holy marriages. Relationships in Telos are based on unity and universal consciousness. Unity forms the foundation of intimacy, and they relate to their significant other as a manifestation of love. Telosians love themselves and focus on the essence of true love. Men and women live as equal partners and view each other as two aspects of the divine: women as the divine mother and men as the divine father.